child here, Bob Nations. We have our freedom fighters in St. Louis County Council, Tim Fitch, Mark Harder. We have my colleague, Senator Bill Eigel. And Senator Paul Whelan is here. Come on out here, Paul. And we have numerous state reps. I'm probably going to miss a few. Hopefully I don't. We have John Weeman, Tony Lavasco, Derek Grier, David Gregory, John Simmons, and Adam Swatter. Did I miss anybody? Jim Murphy. Today I am introducing legislation to end the unnecessary restrictions on our small businesses, our churches, and our families. I would first like to say COVID-19 is a serious virus. It should be taken seriously. It is a serious threat to people who are elderly, people ages over the 65. It is a serious condition for people who have pre-existing conditions. That's why I support social distancing. I support mask wearing, but there's a safe way to open up our businesses. We happen to be living in a constitutional republic where we have separation of powers. No one person should have the power to make law and shut our businesses down. Underneath St. Louis County's charter, it does not give our county executive the power to make law. That is left to the hands of the county council. Looking at the evidence, this virus spread from one person to the entire world. This notion that we can lock down everything and shut this virus down is false. There's no scientific evidence that would point to that being true. A perfect example is New York. New York has had some of the toughest lockdowns in the country. They've had 314,000 COVID-19 cases, yet they've had 24,000 deaths. Compare that to Florida, who has had nearly 970,000 COVID cases, yet they've had less deaths at 18,000. So they've had nearly 3 times the number of COVID cases, yet they've had less deaths. And the reason why that is the case is because they protect vulnerable people. They protect people in nursing homes. They protected people with pre-existing conditions, and they let everyone else live their lives. Now, it's been said that hospitals in the St. Louis region are at 100% capacity. This is also false information. You can go to Missouri's website today. I looked up the information just yesterday. There is 49% capacity left in our hospital beds. There is 18% capacity in our ICU beds. The total number of COVID cases in our hospitals in the St. Louis region is 205. Our business owners are hurting, and many are facing bankruptcy. COVID-19 has also hurt other people. It's caused depression. I actually know someone who has died from COVID-19, from the shutdown of COVID-19, because they didn't get cancer treatment. So I would like to introduce Bob Bonney, the CEO of the Missouri Restaurant Association, and later you'll hear the details of my bill.
Thank you, Senator. Missouri Restaurant Association recognizes that there are very few decisions that come easy as we fight COVID-19. And so therefore we have an appreciation for the challenge before decision makers like the county executive, Dr. Page. As of 2019, the latest BLS data that is available on a county basis, St. Louis County was home to more than 2,000 eating and drinking places and employed over 46,000 people, representing 5.3% of all private sector businesses in the county and 8.3% of all private sector county jobs. Prior to COVID-19, restaurant and food service employment in Missouri accounted for over 300,000 jobs, or 10% of the state workforce. The industry was the second leading private sector employer in the state and the nation and created middle-class jobs at a rate 4 times greater than the overall U.S. economy. Restaurants were the first industry shut down as a result of the pandemic, and we have sustained the most significant job losses to date. Now, county restaurants are closed for on-premise dining a second time. This despite the fact that data tying systemic community outbreaks of COVID-19 to restaurants that adhere to local mandates for social distancing, masking, cleaning, sanitizing has yet to emerge. When restaurant dining rooms were allowed to reopen with restrictions after being closed earlier this year, restaurants in the county and elsewhere across the state stepped up their safety measures. They did everything asked of them and often much, much more. What the industry seeks is due process, the opportunity for public comment, and the same rights afforded other businesses. For instance, certain county businesses, but not restaurants, are allowed to submit a plan for approved operations and then continue doing business once the plan is approved on premise, but a restaurant cannot. Restaurants that follow locally prescribed guidelines and mandates are as safe as other establishments not ordered to close by the county's order. We were hopeful that 9 months into this pandemic, that we could collectively recognize that there is an inherent desire for humans to congregate, and often over food. Shutting down dine-in service removes the ability to accommodate that need in a highly regulated, sanitized, capacity-limited, and appropriately spaced setting in a restaurant. Instead, it will drive that behavior to innumerable residential social gatherings, which are likely less safe. Restaurants in St. Louis County will be devastated by the shutting down of their dining rooms for a second time. Many industry employees will find themselves out of work, and the temporary order will likely result in permanent closure of many restaurants across the county. Missouri Restaurant Association supports any measure that increases due process for restaurants during these challenging times. And now please welcome up our host today, the owner and operator of Satchmo's Bar and Grill, Ben Brown.
Thank you. Throughout the pandemic, the restaurant industry has sacrificed as much as any industry in St. Louis County. We've closed our businesses, wore masks, and followed all county guidelines. We tried to adapt and find new ways to survive at 25% capacity, 50%, or with our dining rooms closed entirely. We were forced to make incredibly difficult decisions regarding who gets to keep receiving a paycheck and who would be laid off. We've taken countless precautions to protect the health and safety of our customers, often at great expense to ourselves. This also came at a time when many saw their sales reduced to a mere fraction of what they were prior to the pandemic. Unlike other industries, protecting public health is at the forefront of how we operate our businesses day in and day out. We freely made these sacrifices because our local officials told us it was in the interest of this public health. We felt we could trust the information they were providing and that the decisions they were making were in the best interest of our communities. However, in the weeks leading up to the Safer at Home order, the information provided by the county has told us a different story. At the time the order was issued, we were told that 50% of new hospitalizations were coming from places outside of the county. We were told that the driver of new spread was coming from small gatherings and homes, not businesses. On October 28th on public radio, the leader of the pandemic task force himself said that shutting down restaurants and bars would not have much of an impact on transmission because it was already too widespread in the community. If it was too widespread in the community then it would certainly be too widespread now to justify such a destructive order. The St. Louis hospitality industry employs over 4,600 people in St. Louis County alone. In order for my restaurant to stay afloat on just takeout and delivery sales, we would have to lay off approximately half of our staff. Now, if you were to scale that out across all the restaurants in the county, that would indicate thousands of people could have potentially already been laid off because of this order. These are mothers and fathers with mortgages and mouths to feed. These are college students living paycheck to paycheck. The damage inflicted by this order is very real. However, the data to support it appears to be non-existent. With each passing week, we see more and more restaurants announcing that they will be closing their doors for good. Unfortunately, that number will continue to grow exponentially so long as orders like this are permitted to stand. What's happening isn't right. And I'm thankful for Senator Koenig and the other legislators here that are standing up for an industry that has been battered, bruised, and is now being used as a scapegoat by a politician that lacks the power to change human behavior in places where he claims the spread of the virus is actually occurring in people's homes. Thank you, Senator, for giving hope to an industry that hasn't had good news for a very long time. Thank you for working to restore oversight and accountability to our local government. And thank you for showing us that there is, in fact, a light at the end of this very dark tunnel. And now I'd like to welcome up one of these legislators, State Representative Jim Murphy.
Thank you. Last night I was preparing what I was going to say today, and I came up with volumes of what we could say about how the abuses of government has infringed upon the liberties of our citizens. In the end, I decided I would keep it down to just this little bit of a page right here, because we all know the abuses that have taken place. We all know that the science behind COVID, although everybody is telling us, follow the science, it changes every day. Let me explain that in October, Harvard University did a research saying that airline travel is low risk. Yet this week, each one of your networks spent the entire week talking about how travel was going to be the next spreader of COVID and how in 2 weeks we're all going to die. We can't keep everybody from traveling. We can't say that traveling in a plane is safe and sitting in this restaurant is not. There is no evidence that says that closing this restaurant is going to change anything. Today, Sam Page said, I'm not worried about legislators putting bills before the House because they do thousands of them every year and they probably won't pass anything. Well, I'm going to tell you, I've got some colleagues back here that are determined we're going to stand up for the liberty of our people. Today I filed House Bill 75. Representative Gregory is filing a bill, and Andrew, of course, has his bill. We will get legislation done this year. What is Sam Page afraid of? Why is he afraid of oversight? Why is he afraid that the council can't look at what he's doing, nor the information that he's basing his decisions upon?
Or to veto it.
Or to veto it. This is not about overriding healthcare officials or good judgment. It's about making decisions based on this man's liberty. Killing small business will not cure COVID. And on that, I'd like to introduce Representative Gregory.
Thank you, Representative Murphy. Look, we've got a real problem here in St. Louis County. I know it's no new news to most of you. The current St. Louis County order as it stands is a complete overreach. It's a complete abuse of power. And I'll tell you what, it's really threatening the survival of a lot of our small businesses, restaurants included. Now, I too have filed a bill to rein in that abuse of power. But I do want to make something clear. Whether it's my bill, whether it's Senator Koenig's bill, Representative Murphy's bill, or a combination of multiple bills, we're in this together. Folks, this is a team effort, and it's going to take a team effort. And I can tell you, I believe through the proper vetting, through the committee hearing process and subsequent floor debate, we're going to come up with a great bill that a lot of us can get behind. And I'll tell you what, get excited, St. Louis County, because we're not going away. We're not giving up, and we're going to do everything we can to pass this bill and pass it as soon as we can. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce to you Senator Bill Eigel. Sorry about that, Senator.
Good morning, everybody. I came out this morning for two primary reasons. One, what happens in St. Louis County has a direct impact on the success and well-being of St. Charles County, which I represent. St. Charles County cannot be strong if St. Louis County and St. Louis City are not strong. The second reason I came out is that the destruction of our livelihoods and small businesses must stop. For as long as I have been on this earth, I don't know that I have seen an issue that has been as politicized as the COVID-19 situation. And like most reasonable Americans, I concur with my colleagues that the threat from COVID-19, especially to certain vulnerable populations, is real and it is dangerous. This is not an excuse, and no emergency is an excuse to ignore our Constitution and to ignore our freedoms and liberties. When I was a child, I never believed that I would grow up in an America where I'd have to wonder if my county executive was going to barge into my living room on Thanksgiving to count the number of people I had over for dinner. I also don't believe that restrictions that unfairly shut down these small businesses are going to do anything, A, to bring us back together as a community, and B, to do anything to get us beyond the COVID-19 situation. Now, I don't know how many of you know Ben. Ben's a small business owner. He has a family. His family needs him. And he has employees that work for him and have aligned their livelihoods with the health of Satchmo's Bar and Grill.
And they're essential too.
And every small business owner is essential. If Sam Page or any other county executive doesn't understand that the role of government is to protect the rights of its citizens, then they will be remembered as those that took the actions in the path of tyranny and oppression, not as saviors. I'll leave you this morning with one more thought. And this is not just a message for you, Ben. This is a message for all business owners, all citizens of Missouri, and around the country if your liberties and freedoms are under a threat. Starting this morning, help is on the way. All right. And with that, we're going to bring Senator Koenig, my favorite senator, by the way, back up here. And he's going to talk through some of the specifics of the bill. Senator Koenig?
So in the U.S. Constitution, nowhere does it say unless there's a pandemic. You know, it says Congress shall make no law. Unelected bureaucrats are unfairly targeting our businesses, families, and churches. Local control resides with you as an individual. It doesn't stop at the county line. It doesn't give the county executive or the county council ultimate authority to do whatever they want because of local control. Local control resides with you as an individual. You know, the one thing that is true is if you don't want to get COVID, you can stay in your house. All right? If you have no human interaction with another human being, you will not get COVID. That's a scientific fact. Now for the details of the bill. So in my bill, we allow for up to a 2-week maximum shutdown over a 2-year period of time. After that, it must go through the General Assembly and signed by the governor. Also, no shutdown can occur without a legislative body voting on it first. And I believe state law already, I believe the St. Louis County's charter already has that in there, but we're going to clarify it in state law. No restrictions on religious institutions. It's a First Amendment right. No business owner should have to pay property taxes while they're shut down. No one can come into your home and tell you how many family members you can have in your house. Now this next one, actually, I have a personal experience with. So I have had some family members. St. Louis County came in to one of my family members' house and told them they could not interact with their child even though they had COVID and their child had COVID. That is completely unscientific and unconstitutional. And they threatened a misdemeanor. So they will not be able to do that either. Another thing that we need to protect against is parental rights. Across our country, we've had fathers told that they can't see the birth of their child. We've had children threatened to be taken away from their mother when they're born because the mother might have COVID. And so we're going to put protections in there for parental rights. And with that, I will go ahead and take questions from the media if we have questions from the media. Yes.
You're at a restaurant that has defied a county health order. Do you feel it's okay for people to not follow the rules of the laws that they...
Well, it'd be nice if St. Louis County followed the law. The county executive does not have the right to create law. They don't have the right to come in and shut every business down. St. Louis County Council has to pass a law first before he has that authority.
Do you have the authority to issue a health order?
A health order is not shutting down every business. That's unilaterally shutting it. He doesn't have ultimate authority to come in and shut every business down. The county council would have to pass an ordinance first.
Governor Parson has constantly talked about giving counties and cities leeway to enact their own restrictions. What would you say that this type of approach is contrary to that?
Well, first of all, I do understand that local municipalities can act more quickly than the state, and so that's why I limit it to 2 weeks. If there is a serious situation, it allows a very short shutdown, although we do have protections that they can't touch, like religious liberty. They can't come into your home, but it's at a very limited basis. I want to make sure that people's rights are not being violated, and that's why beyond 14 days, it's going to have to go through the legislature.
In the past year, there's been 2 major elections where Dr. Page's health orders have been front and center. A very expensive primary and a general election where the Republican lost by over 20 points. What would you say to people that say that those elections showcase that the people here support what he's doing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that probably do support what he's doing, but we also have we govern underneath a set of laws, and we have a constitutional republic, and we don't live in a society that's mob rule. It's not pure democracy.
You all seem to be in disagreement with the facts and numbers that are coming from the pandemic task force. Could you reiterate where you all are getting your numbers from as far as hospitalization and overcrowding in hospitals?
The numbers that I'm getting from is straight off the Missouri website. They have a website that updates these numbers on a daily basis. Like I said, currently, as of last night when I checked, there was 205 people in the St. Louis region, the whole entire St. Louis region, that would include St. Charles, that are in the hospital in ICU beds due to COVID. And to me, 205 does not seem like a complete overrun of our hospital association. One thing that hospitals are due is they don't want vacancies. I mean, if you have large amounts of vacancies, they aren't going to expand their hospital because they'll lose money. And so right now in the St. Louis region, we have 18% vacancy in ICU beds and 46% of total hospital beds.
Going through parts of your bill, so the first part where you say 2 weeks for 2 years and it has to be approved by the General Assembly, is that for individual localities or is that for the entire state?
So that would be for each municipality. So like for instance, if the state of Missouri came in and extended it an additional 2 weeks, then if you didn't use your first 2 weeks, you would have a total of a month.
Okay. And when you say like local legislatures would have to approve, that means like the county
council
would have to.
They would have to approve it. You can't have, we don't want one person rule.
So what was that first provision again? Allow for up to 2 weeks shutdown? Is it per year or per 2 years?
It's for a 2-year period of time.
Okay. And that must be voted on by legislative body first.
Say that again?
So that must be voted on
Correct.
by legislative
Yes,
body first.
correct. And we do have copies of the bill for the media. I don't know if we have enough copies, but we do have copies if you want to take copies with you.
Senator, how would your bill address time periods when the General Assembly is not in session? So during that time period,
If it's a serious matter, the governor can call us in. The legislature, we can call ourselves in. If it's a serious matter, we can do that.
Have you talked with Governor Parson about this, and if so, what's been his reaction to it?
I think the governor is going to be favorable to it, but I have not specifically talked about the details. He does know that I'm filing a bill, and I did talk to his staff about it, but I didn't go over every detail, partly because we just finalized these details yesterday. I've been working on the language very hard. We have had 5 different drafts with multiple changes in each draft. So, I mean, I'm sure there's probably going to be changes to the bill, but I think it's in a pretty good place right now.
I have a question. What can we, the people, do to support your efforts? Thank you.
Yeah, so what you're doing right now, I would say support all these restaurants that are in jeopardy of going out of business.
timetable for getting this passed, and will the pandemic be over by then? I mean, what's the immediate benefit you're looking for?
Well, so I'm going to urge the governor to expand his call and include it. I will be filing this in regular session. I'll also be filing it in a special session. It does have an emergency clause on it, so it will become effective when the governor signs it. This is an emergency situation. We need to our businesses are hurting out there. Our people's rights are being violated. And even if the pandemic is over because of a vaccine, we still need to pass this bill to protect people in the future.
And you hope it could be passed
as soon as possible.
Can you give us an estimate, like the next few months, or what do you think?
I mean, as soon as it's going to be the #1 bill that I file today, and they go in order. So.
Filing today, so then in short order, you're hoping.
Yes, I want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Hey, Andrew. Hey guys, one of the things we all can do, we're going to have another rally down in Chesterfield in front of Sonic. My sister Debbie and I. What? A protest? Yeah, but we need to get 100 people there. Everybody bring your homemade signs, guys. That's the first thing that we all can do, Andrew.
11 o'clock in the morning.
Down in Sonic.
I know this is an insular question,
Time
but
to
after
have
January,
coffee.
there's going to be a new member of the county council who was elected and who defeated an ally of the county executive Page. Is it possible that some of the things that you don't like may just work itself out internally without state legislation?
I would hope that is the case. But there's numerous examples I've given that in my bill that I would say our bill still needs to pass. That it's not all related just to St. Louis County. All right, well, I thank it. Any last questions from the media? All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming today.
Good job, Ian. Good job.
What's my boss?
Andrew Dan.
That's all right. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to tell you to ask your attorneys. I've talked to one of the attorneys.